Pictures of the Gone World. Away above a harbor full of caulkless houses, among the Charlie Noble chimney pots of a rooftop rigged with clotheslines, a woman paced up sails upon the wind, hanging out her mourning sheets with wooden pins. Oh, lovely mammal, her nearly naked breasts throw taut shadows when she stretches up to hang at last, the last of her so whitewashed sins. But it is wetly amorous and winds itself about her, clinging to her skin. So caught, with arms upraised, she tosses back her head in voiceless laughter, and in choiceless gesture then shakes out gold hair. While in the reachless seascape spaces between the blown white shrouds stand out the bright steamers to kingdom come. Sounds good. This one is, it's really a train poem. I sort of like that.
Well, let's try it out.
Number 2. Just as I used to say, love comes harder to the aged because they've been running on the same old rails too long. And then, when the sly switch comes along, they miss the turn and burn up the wrong rail while the gay caboose goes flying and the steam engine driver don't recognize them new electric horns. And the aged run out on the rusty spur, which ends up in the dead grass, where the rusty tin cans and bed springs and old razor blades and moldy mattresses lie. And the rail breaks off dead right there, though the ties go on a while, and the aged say to themselves, "Well, this must be the place we were supposed to lie down." And they do. While the bright saloon careens along a way on a high hilltop, its windows full of blue sky and lovers with flowers, their long hair streaming, and all of them laughing and waving and whispering to each other and looking out and wondering what that graveyard where the rails end is. Great. Sounded really good. Number 3. In hinter time Praxiteles laid about him with a golden maul, striking into stone his alabaster ideals, uttering all the sculptor's lexicon in visible syllables. He cast bronze trees, petrified a chameleon on one, made stone doves fly. His calipers measured bridges and lovers and certain other superhumans whom he caught upon their dusty way to death. They never reached it then. You still can almost see their breath, their stone eyes staring through 3,000 years, allay our fears of aging. Although Praxiteles himself at 28 lay dead, for sculpture isn't for young men, as Constantin Brancusi at a later hour said. Number 4. In Paris, in a loud, dark winter, when the sun was something in Provence, when I came upon the poetry of René Char, I saw Vaucluse again in the summer of Sauterelle, its fountains full of petals, and its river thrown down through all the burnt places of that almond world, and the fields full of silence, though the crickets sang with their legs. And in the poet's plangent dream I saw no Lorelei upon the Rhone, nor angels debarked at Marseille, but couples going nude into the sad water, in the profound lasciviousness of spring, in an algebra of lyricism which I am still deciphering. Number 5. Not too long after the beginning of time, upon a 9 o'clock of a not-too-hot summer night, standing in the door of the new Pisa, under the forgotten plaster head of Dante, waiting for a table and watching everything, was a man with a mirror for a head, which didn't look so abnormal at that, except that real ears stuck out, and he had a sign which read, "A poem is a mirror walking down a strange street." But anyway, as I was saying, not too long after the beginning of time, this man, who was all eyes, had no mouth, and all he could do was show people what he meant, and it turned out he claimed to be a painter. But anyway, this painter, who couldn't talk or tell anything about what he meant, looked like just about the happiest painter in all the world, standing there taking it all in and reflecting everything in his great big hungry eye. But anyways, so it was I saw reflected there 4 walls covered with pictures of the Leaning Tower of Pisa, all of them leaning in different directions, 5 booths with tables, 15 tables without booths, 1 bar with 1 bartender looking like a baseball champ with a lot of neighborhood trophies hung up behind, 3 waitresses of various sizes and faces, 1 as big as a little fox terrier, 1 as large as a small sperm whale, 1 as strange as an angel, but all 3 with the same eyes, 1 kitchen door with 1 brother cook standing in it with the same eyes, and about 163 people, all talking and waving and laughing and eating and drinking and smiling and frowning and shaking heads and opening mouths and putting forks and spoons in them and chewing and swallowing all kinds of produce and sitting back and relaxing maybe and drinking coffee and lighting cigarettes and getting up and so on and so off into the night without ever noticing the man with the mirror head below the forgotten plaster head of Dante, looking down at everyone with the same eyes, as if he were still searching everywhere for his lost Beatrice, but with just a touch of devilish lipstick on the very tip of his nose. Number 6. And the Arabs asked terrible questions, and the Pope didn't know what to say, and the people ran around in wooden shoes asking which way was the head of Midas facing, and everyone said no instead of yes. While still forever, in the Luxembourg Gardens, in the fountains of the Medici, were their fat red goldfish and the fat white goldfish, and the children running around the pool, pointing and piping, "Des poissons rouges! Des poissons rouges!" But they ran off, and a leaf unhooked itself and fell upon the pool and lay like an eye, winking circles. And then the pool was very still. And there was a dog just standing there at the edge of the pool, looking down at the tranced fish, and not barking or waving its funny tail or anything. So that, for a moment then, in the late November dusk, silence hung like a lost idea, and a statue turned its head. Okay, number 7 is easy. Something New Yorkish.
Yeah, that's where we could put some of the jazz chords in, but that we haven't had that
Yeah,
yet.
Sunday in Central Park.
For the, yes. That's right.
He's ripping off everybody. J.S. Bach, Thelonious Monk.
Boy. Okay.
Number 7. Yes, and we stood about up in Central Park, dropping coins in the fountains, and a harlequin came naked among the nursemaids and caught them picking their noses when they should have been dancing. Number 8. Sorolla's women, in their picture hats, stretched upon his canvas beaches, beguiled the Spanish Impressionists. And were they fraudulent pictures of the world, the way the light played on them, creating illusions of love? I cannot help but think that their reality was almost as real as my memory of today. When the last sun hung on the hills, and I heard the day falling like the gulls that fell almost to land, while the last picnickers lay and loved in the blowing yellow broom, resisted and resisting, tearing themselves apart again, until the last hot hung climax, which could at last no longer be resisted, made them moan. And night's trees stood up. Number 9. Truth is not the secret of a few, yet You would maybe think so the way some librarians and cultural ambassadors and especially museum directors act. You'd think they had a corner on it the way they walk around shaking their high heads and looking as if they never went to the bathroom or anything. But I wouldn't blame them if I were you. They say the spiritual is best conceived in abstract terms. And then, too, walking around in museums always makes me want to sit down. I always feel so constipated in those high altitudes. Number 10. I think it's too fast.
Okay.
This is a little creaky old wooden train going through the countryside. That's better.
Okay, good.
Number 10. For all I know, maybe she was happier than anyone. That lone crone in the shawl on the orange crate train, with a little tame bird in her handkerchief, crooning to it all the time, Mia mascotta, mia mascotta. And none of the Sunday excursionists with their bottles and their baskets paying any attention, and the coach creaking on through cornfields so slowly that butterflies blew in and out. Number 11. Fortune has its cookies to give out, which is a good thing, since it's been a long time since that summer in Brooklyn, when they closed off the street one hot day, and the firemen turned on their hoses, and all the kids ran out in it, in the middle of the street. And there were maybe a couple of dozen of us out there, with the water squirting up to the sky and all over us. And there were maybe only 6 of us kids altogether, running around in our bare feet and birthday suits. And I remember Molly, but then the firemen stopped squirting their hoses all of a sudden and went back in their firehouse and started playing pinochle again, just as if nothing had ever happened. Well, I remember Molly looked at me and ran in, because I guess really we were the only ones there. Number 12. And she, like a young year walking through the earth, in the Bois de Boulogne that time, or as I remember her, stepping out of a bathtub in that gold flat she had, corner of Boulevard des Italiens. Oh, they say she tried everything before the end. Took up television and crosswords, even crocheting and things like that, and came to have the air before the end, as her favorite poet described her, of always carrying flowers towards some far abandoned tomb, which doesn't surprise me now that I come to think of it. The struck seed was in her. Number 13. It was a face which darkness could kill in an instant. A face as easily hurt by laughter or light. We think differently at night, she told me once, lying back languidly. And she would quote Cocteau. I feel there is an angel in me, she'd say, whom I am constantly shocking. Then she would smile and look away, light a cigarette for me, sigh and rise and stretch her sweet anatomy, let fall a stocking. I like to do the 13 over, I think.
Okay, let's try that again.
If you could try to cut in, not in the middle of a phrase, but between phrases.
Okay.
Okay.
That sounds good. We are rolling.
Number 13. It was a face which darkness could kill in an instant. A face as easily hurt by laughter or light. We think differently at night, she told me once, lying back languidly. And she would quote Cocteau. I feel there is an angel in me, she'd say, whom I am constantly shocking. Then she would smile and look away, light a cigarette for me, sigh and rise and stretch her sweet anatomy, let fall a stocking. That's perfect.
Yeah.
Nice.
Number 14. So he said, you think you're pretty snappy, don't you now, with your sunny side layer up, and your bloomin' big tits like flowers, and your way of always looking so innocent, holding a flower between your teeth, and laughing with your eyes. Well, maybe we could go somewheres, he said, after the show.
That was great.
15. Funny fantasies are never so real as old-style romances, where the hero has a heroine who has long black braids and lets nobody kiss her ever. And everybody's trying all the time to run away with her, and the hero is always drawing his sword and tilting at gin mills and forever telling her he loves her and has only honorable intentions and honorable mentions, and no one ever beats him at anything. But then finally one day, she who has always been so timid offs with her glove and says, though not in so many big words, let's lie down somewheres, baby. Number 16. Three maidens went over the land. One carried a piece of bread in the hand. One said, let's divide it and cut it. And they strolled through a red forest. And in the red forest there stood a red church. And in the red church stood a red altar. And upon the red altar lay a red knife. And now we come to the parable. They took the red knife, and they cut the red rope, and they tied it to the red rope. And they said, let's divide it and cut it. And in the red forest there stood a red church. And in the red church stood a red altar. And upon the red altar lay a red knife. And now we come to the parable. They took the red knife, and wounded their bread, and where they cut with the so-red knife, it was red.
God, I could really see the red there.
God, extraordinary. That really worked.
Yeah.
Man.
Just so those years of rehearsal pay off.
Number 17. Terrible, a horse at night, standing hitched alone in the still street, and whinnying, as if some sad nude astride him had gripped hot legs on him, and sung a sweet, high, hungry, single syllable. Number 18. London, cross-figured, creeping with trams, and the artists on Sundays in the summer, all tracking nature in the suburbs. It could have been any place, but it wasn't. It was London. And when someone shouted over that they had got a model, I ran out across the court. But then, when the model started taking off her clothes, there was nothing underneath. I mean to say, she took off her shoes and found no feet, took off her top and found no tit under it. And I must say she did look a bit astounded, just standing there, looking down at where her legs were not. But so very carefully then, she put her clothes back on. And as soon as she was dressed again completely, she was completely all right. "Do it again," cried someone, rushing for his easel. But she was afraid to, and gave up modeling, and forever after slept in her clothes. Number 19. With bells for hooves in sounding streets, that terrible horse, the unicorn, came on, and cropped a medlar from a tree, and where he dropped the seed sprang up a virgin. Oh, she sprang up upon his back and rode off tittering to a stair where pieces of string lay scattered everywhere. Now when she saw the string so white, so lovely and so beautiful, and looking like innocence itself, she got down and reached for a nice straight piece. But it had a head, and it bit her beautiful place. "So," she said, "this is how it all began. Next time I'll know." But it was too late, and they buried her. Good. Will you play it back?
Yeah, sure. Okay, we rolling.
Number 20. That fellow on the boat train who insisted on playing blackjack had teeth that stuck out like lighthouses on a rocky coast. But he had no eyes to see the dusk flash past. Horses in orchards noiselessly running. Bunches of birds thrown up. And the butterflies of yesterday that flittered on my mind. They don't sound like butterflies to me.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I don't know. I think maybe the castanets are better.
Gotcha. We'll save that for.
Sounds like the army is coming with that other.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
we are rolling.
Number 20. That fellow on the boat train who insisted on playing blackjack had teeth that stuck out like lighthouses on a rocky coast. But he had no eyes to see. The dusk flashed past. Horses in orchards noiselessly running. Bunches of birds thrown up. And the butterflies of yesterday that flittered on my mind. I don't know, it sounds intentionally too illustrative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me try this one. Just introduction.
Why don't you do it just at the beginning
Yeah.
and let it go at the end?
Okay.
Okay, we're rolling.
Number 20. That fellow on the boat train who insisted on playing blackjack had teeth that stuck out like lighthouses on a rocky coast, but he had no eyes to see. The dusk flashed past. Horses in orchards noiselessly running, bunches of birds thrown up, and the butterflies of yesterday that flittered on my mind.
That was real nice. What do you think, Lawrence?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
fine.
Okay.
Okay, number 21 is that's a poetry reading. I don't know what you can do to this.
Oh, well, that we could. Oh, the portrait. That's where we could put the drum in.
Well, you know, he's also in. It's talking about heaven, though, right?
Yeah.
We could have that. We could have the old poetry reading.
Okay, try it.
That's the old sound of the.
But then you have to stop halfway through.
Yeah.
Then look away with a lost look. You have to stop there.
Yeah. Every animal. Yeah,
Okay, we are rolling.
Number 21. Heaven was only half as far that night at the poetry recital, listening to the burnt phrases, when I heard the poet have a rhyming erection, then look away with a lost look. Every animal, he said at last, after intercourse is sad. But the back row lovers looked oblivious and glad. And here's the 22 is kind of like a American election atmosphere, like during the election campaign.
All right.
Maybe it's an organy thing?
No,
David?
but not organ, but maybe a slight touch of the Star Spangled Banner on the piano.
David?
What? What?
I was. What What if it had a sort of carnival sound? Would that make any sense?
It says that, it says in the band playing schmaltz. That's good.
Actually, that's really good. That is nice. Yeah, that's very American. No, you're right.
Okay, that's good.
Like the Republican National Convention. Held in
Okay, we're gonna
Northwoods for the first
capture
time.
this right now. We're rolling.
Number 22. Crazy to be alive in such a strange world, with the band playing schmaltz in the classic bandshell, and the people on the benches under the clipped trees, and girls on the grass, and the breeze blowing, and the streamers streaming, and a fat man with a Graflex, and a dark woman with a dark dog she called Lucia, and a cat on a leash, and a Pekingese with a blonde baby, and a Cuban in a fedora, and a bunch of boys posing for a group picture. And just then, while the band went right on playing schmaltz, a midget ran past shouting and waving his hat at someone, and a young man with a gay campaign button came up and said, "Are you by any chance a registered Democrat?"
That was good.
That's great.
Number 23. Dada would have liked a day like this, with its various very realistic unrealities, each about to become too real for its locality, which is never quite remote enough to be Bohemia. Dada would have loved a day like this, with its light bulb sun, which shines so differently for different people, but which still shines the same on everyone and on everything, such as a bird on a bench about to sing, a plane in a gilded cloud, a dishpan hand waving at a window, or a phone about to ring, or a mouth about to give up smoking, or a new newspaper with a new news story of a cancerous dancer. Yes, Dada would have died for a day like this, with its sweet street carnival and its too real funeral just passing through it, with its real dead dancer so beautiful and dumb in her shroud, and her last lover lost in the unlonely crowd, and its dancer's darling baby about to say Dada, and its passing priest about to pray Dada, and offering his so transcendental apologies. Yes, Dada would have loved a day like this, with its not so accidental analogies. Number 24. Picasso's acrobats epitomized the world, and there were 80 churches in Paris which I had never entered, and my hotel's door smiled terribly, and words were trombones, incoherent parrots, chattering idols. But that night I dreamt of Picasso, opening doors and closing exits, opening doors and closing exits in the world. I dreamt he painted a Picasso in my room, shouting all the time, "Pas symbolique, c'est pas symbolique."
never would have thought you could have topped the last one.
Yeah, that was better
But
than
that
the
was
one
incredible.
before. I'm glad the machine broke now because I played something better.
That was incredible.
Number 25. The world is a beautiful place. Well, I don't know. I don't think we came together right on that one.
Okay, let's try it again.
It's a beautiful thing.
Okay.
Okay, we are rolling.
Number 25. The world is a beautiful place to be born into. If you don't mind happiness not always being so very much fun. If you don't mind a touch of hell now and then, just when everything is fine. Because even in heaven, they don't sing all the time. The world is a beautiful place to be born into. If you don't mind some people dying all the time. Or maybe only starving some of the time. Which isn't half so bad if it isn't you. Oh, the world is a beautiful place to be born into. If you don't much mind a few dead minds in the higher places. Or a bum or two now and then in your upturned faces. Or such other improprieties as our name brand society is prey to. With its men of distinction and its men of extinction and its priests and other patrolmen and its various segregations and congressional investigations and other constipations that our fool flesh is heir to. Yes, the world is the best place of all for a lot of such things as making the fun scene and making the love scene and making the sad scene and singing low songs and having inspirations and walking around looking at everything and smelling flowers and goosing statues and even thinking and kissing people and making babies and wearing pants and waving hats and dancing and going swimming in rivers on picnics in the middle of the summer and just generally living it up. Yes, but then, right in the middle of it, comes the smiling mortician. Number 26. Reading Yeats, I do not think of Ireland, but of Midsummer New York, and of myself back then, reading that copy I found on the 3rd Avenue L. The L with its fly-hung fans and its signs reading, "Spitting is forbidden." The L careening through its third-story world with its third-story people in their third-story doors, looking as if they had never heard of the ground. An old dame watering her plant, or a joker in a straw putting a stick pin in his peppermint tie and looking just like he had nowhere to go but Coney Island. Or an undershirted guy rocking in his rocker, watching the L pass by, as if he expected it to be different each time. Reading Yeats, I do not think of Arcady and of its woods which Yeats thought dead. I think instead of all the gone faces getting off at midtown places with their hats and their jobs, and of that lost book I had with its blue cover and its white inside, where a pencil hand had written, "Horsemen pass by."
Whoa.
Sounded good.
That's great.
Yeah, this is really a dark poem in a way.
Nice way to end it.
You might as well, we could extend it because we have plenty of room. You can begin and extend it away before I come in.
Okay.
And I think in the middle of the poem, Holderlin in his stone tower, or
Yeah.
in that kind carpenter's house in Tübingen, I think I should go on without a break there.
Good.
And then Rimbaud and his Nightmare and Logic, Sophism of Madness, and not have a break between those two there.
So between?
Between Tübingen and Rimbaud,
Right.
no break.
Okay, so unbought gate, there's something, then yet how many wobbies, how many Holderlin, how many civil thickets? After thickets,
Yeah,
there's a little break there. And then from Holderlin through Madness, there's no break.
yeah, okay.
Gotcha.
Number 27. Sweet and various the woodlark, who sings at the unbought gate. And yet, how many wild beasts, how many mad in the civil thickets. Holderlin in his stone tower, or in that kind carpenter's house at Tübingen, or then Rimbaud, his Nightmare and Logic, a sophism of madness. But we have our own more recent, who also fatally assumed that some direct connection does exist between language and reality, word and world. Which is a laugh, if you ask me. I, too, have drunk and seen the spider. Dedicated to Gregory Nunzio Corso, devilish angel, hail and farewell.